Welcome to the Haunted Hacker podcast number. Casey, what number do you want to give it?
I assume one is already taken. So
yeah, any number between, I don't know, 150 and 200.
Let's go 175. I don't know.
Cool, awesome, 175. So yeah, news for this week. Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. Thanksgiving's coming up. We do have a new member of the Haunted Hacker family, and his name is Loki, and he's a Hellion. So he may pop in and out of the video. I don't know. We'll see.
Attacked.
Yeah, might attack me at some point. I don't know. He's very unpredictable. So next week is Thanksgiving. I think I have one talk next week. I'm not really sure where. And then December in the British Virgin Islands and Oklahoma City on December 2nd for Inotech. Other than that, not a whole lot of huge news going on in the industry. Things kind of quiet down, other than Darkside is getting a bounty put on by the government, which I think is really cool. But with that, I'll introduce our guest, Casey. Casey and I go back a ways, 2016, I think. Casey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what brought you to cybersecurity?
Oh, just a normal guy, I guess. Nothing special about me. But friends with you for a long time. A mutual friend of ours. I think we stumbled across paths accidentally, and then found out that we had a mutual friend, Ralph H4unt3d, and the Hollywood hacker, the ethical hacker. And he's the one that really got me started into this. Into cybersecurity. I spent 18 years prior to that being a system admin and liked security, and was a law enforcement officer before that. So security's always been a love of mine. And I was just in the system administration for a small privately owned company. And he actually came into town to do a PCI audit for my wife's company. He broke things, brought the whole company's network down, I think within like 5 minutes from coming in the door. And they flipped their lid and basically ostracized him from the rest of the pen test or the assessment. He couldn't come into the building, and from like midnight to 6, which put him back. So I hit him up, said, "Hey man, you're in Oklahoma City for an extra day. I'm sure you love that, because there's just so much to do here." So I went out and picked him up on a Saturday, took him out to dinner, became mutual friends. That was back when he was actually doing a lot of teaching. He said, you should come sit in my classes or something. I'm like, nah. And he was trying to get me to go to DEF CON and all of this. And it's like, I never have time. I'm a workaholic. I work around the clock, never have time. So finally, after about 8 years, actually, I mean, we stayed in contact, and I took him up on it. I went to his class, and then later on that year, went to my first DEF CON, and blew my mind. I was like, and honestly changed my life. I'm a completely different person now after that experience than I was before. Growing up in Oklahoma in the middle of the Bible Belt, very opinionated, to say the least. And the InfoSec community and culture, and especially DEF CON, it changes your outlook, and you get to be around people from all walks of life, different opinions, different views, different, everyone's different. And the community is so open and willing to help, and willing to listen, and willing to support you regardless of who you are. And that's what I loved about it. And so, changed my life there. I'm not a super hacker. I'm not like a Dave Kennedy or somebody, those guys that are on TV every time you turn around, telling the world the latest and greatest, and doing all sorts of awesome things. And so I really felt confused or maybe lost, like, okay, where do I fit in here, right? You know, I'm just, you know, how can I give back? And so from there, I started volunteering with Black Hat in terms of their conference associates program, and went on to actually lead that. Now I think I've been involved with that 9 years. So my journey has brought me through, no, not really knowing what the InfoSec world was, other than I just had a love for security and firewalls, to being fully immersed in it, and then being able to help and give back with the Black Hat conference associate program. That program, we have, on a normal year, we have around 200 people on my team, and it's a mix of professionals from the industry, and the other half, or 2/3 of those people, are aspiring college students or InfoSec students. So it gives people sort of their first step into cybersecurity. A lot of people, they get to come to one of the largest security conferences in the world, be a part of that, see what's going on behind the scenes, and work with, like for instance, we've had Microsoft send their Ghostbusters team, which is their global incident response team. And so they've joined us. They didn't join us last year because of COVID, but they've been a part of my team for the last 4 or 5 years. And so, those are some really awesome people, and they see lots of interesting stuff trotting the world with Microsoft. And so, here's these students with their first experience into cybersecurity, and they're getting to work with these experts, and not only the experts, but they get exposure to the trainers and the speakers and everybody that's around. It's a huge networking event, right? That's what summer camp's about, right? Networking. Exactly. I don't really go for the talks. It's like I go for the networking to see all the friends.
Oh yeah.
So, I've been doing that, and then another guy that I think we all know. I think he was he was on here a few podcasts ago. Not sure what number that was, but Jason Street, he pulled me into DEF CON groups, and so I volunteer with them. I'm on the global board there that helps establish, maintain, manage, get resources, whatever the groups need. We're a resource for them, and so I'm part of that as well. That's how I've given back. And then since then, we work together doing some commercial and government stuff. Since then, I've jumped out on my own, start my own company now.
Oh, wow.
And trying to keep my head above water, working all hours of the day, and trying to grow that business and rule the world finally.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know that you I didn't know that you had left our previous company. Yeah, that was an interesting environment that we both worked in. I think the first time I met you was on the East Coast. No, maybe the East Coast. I think we did a pen test together, and it was at a hotel, and you had walked in and totally was not what I was expecting. And I was there with Kathleen Whalen, I believe. And we sat down and started talking and realized that, oh, wait a minute, we have quite a few people in common that we knew. And it was in North Carolina. That's where it was at. We went out for barbecue that night. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And that's, it's that environment, I think, as you would agree, isn't for everyone. I've managed to stay there for I don't know, maybe a lot longer than I expected, but it's not that I don't beat my head against the wall at times with some of the nonsense that goes on there. Right. But just a perfect example of everyone has their their roles and their places, and sometimes sometimes things work out to where they're a fit. Sometimes it's like people can't stand the work that they do, and so just keep on looking, and find out where you fit, and find sort of what I went back to a while ago in terms of being accepting and understanding, because I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned, especially in the infosec world, is that I think we're all a little weird, right?
Yeah.
We all
Sure.
like I was telling you before this, like, I don't like talking to people, like, but one of the things that I found, like when I go to summer camp and I'm around people, um, I had the privilege, and I really consider it a privilege, of actually speaking at Black Hat one year. Never thought I would ever do that. I've spoken at DEF CON on some DEF CON groups, panels and boards, I believe 4 times now. Never ever thought in my life that I would get up in front of thousands of people and talk. Can't really believe I'm doing this right now either. I'm sort of nervous, but we all have our idiosyncrasies, and we just have, it's about realizing and understanding everybody, and what you're, like I said, I'm not a super hacker, but I'm really good at this or this. We all have, we can't be, there's infosec is so broad.
Right.
We can't be experts in everything, and so it's great to know so many people, that, hey, if I have a problem with web, I can go this, or crypto, I can go here, or and that's one of the things that certainly the being involved in those conferences in the community has brought, and especially when I've with COVID, and that's certainly decreased my travel, but I used to spend 200 nights a year on the road.
Oh yeah.
Which is hard in a hotel. I used to live in a hotel.
Yeah, that.
But
When we
one
were
of the
working.
things,
Go ahead.
yeah, one of the things that made that livable, and that I was able to suffer through that, was that it was nice that every town I went to, of course we were going to major towns and everything, major cities, but I knew someone everywhere I went, and so that certainly made a lot more bearable in terms of that travel. It's like I would go here, and I'd give this guy a call or girl a call and say, hey, I'm in town, you want to do dinner one night, and so it was great being able to catch up with people as well, and know that you have a family, an infosec family out there that you can go and see more than just once a year at summer camp. So
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest thing about being an infosec is the community. Um, you know, it- Being on the road, we were on the road quite a bit with that company. I would say probably 75% of the time we're on the road, and it was nice to be able to hook up with different people, and spend time on the road with people you enjoy talking to that have something in common. Um, I'm going up to Oklahoma City on December 2nd, and it's always a lot of fun.
yeah.
Donovan is up in Oklahoma City, and there's a lot of people. You're still up in Oklahoma City, right?
Yep, I'm in Oklahoma City too. I actually have not met Donovan yet,
Mhm.
but weird story on that is that
Mhm.
that was the Innotech there that Sean's still involved in that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
With
yep.
so that was the cyber part of that was actually started by Jason
Oh,
Street
really?
and myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jason. Well, we called it Route 66 back then. I think
Hmm.
they've since abandoned Route 66. But Jason, after one of those cons, he's like, "Hey, do you want to do one of these locally?" I'm like, "Yeah, right, sure." I was like, "I'll help, yeah." And then next thing I know, we're in at that time the Cox Convention Center, doing a little local cyber conference, and so that was fun to do, and we since sort of abandoned the Route 66 and let Sean go ahead and take that over, and I think he's actually done that in other cities too.
Hmm.
Brought in the infosec portion of it, but he was always a great guy to work with,
Yeah.
and has a lot of good intent there. So
Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff going on. We did one in Dallas last month for Inotech, and Inotech is actually now part of TechStrong. So
Okay.
TechStrong puts on a lot of these events. I think we have one in San Antonio coming up as well. But yeah, Sean's a good guy. It was really interesting doing the one in Dallas. I hadn't been back to Dallas in years, and ended up it was at the Las Colinas Convention Center, the Urban Convention Center, and my boss, one of my very first bosses in InfoSec, came and saw my talk and got to spend some time with him. And that's kind of, that's what drives me. I think is the people, being able to, I've known people in InfoSec now for 20 something years, and it's always good to sit down with someone who you haven't seen in a long time, and share a drink with, or sit down and talk to and catch up, because so much happens within the community so often and so fast, that it's
Yeah.
nice to keep up with people. So yeah, like the community, I think, is one big thing, in the culture. We talk about Ralph and Jason and people like that, and Chris Roberts and some of the other guys, and we're all getting old, man. Like, it seems like
Yeah,
we've
we
been
ain't
this.
no spring chickens anymore.
I still remember when I first met Ralph, and I was young, probably in my early 30s. And I'm about to be 50 here in a couple of years, and it's just, when I sit back and look at where the industry was and where it is now, it's amazing and shocking on the same token.
And us thinking that, oh, they're gonna fix this and we're not gonna have a job, and they're
Right.
gonna fix this and we're not gonna have a job, and fingers
And then,
crossed, hopefully we'll still have a job next year.
right. And I don't think we'll have a problem with that, considering, you do a packet capture on the internet, and all of a sudden you see SQL Blaster and stuff like that still floating around. It's not a whole lot's changed, I don't think.
No.
Yeah. So, I
And
mean,
that talking about not a whole lot's changed, in the pen tests and everything that I do.
mhm.
That's just one of the, people think that, oh, to be a successful pen tester, you have to be, as I referred to a second ago, that super hacker. It's like, no, you don't. You just, there's so much low hanging fruit out there. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to start my company with. One of the reasons behind it was to help people, right? Because being involved in the conferences and everything, you saw so many people that didn't really know where to start. Like, where do I start with security, right?
Right.
And there's so many of these big companies out there that people just feel overwhelmed and everything like that. So I've always been one that I want to help people, and that's what set me down the road. And I think that's the group of friends that I'm around, that's the mutual tie right there. Is we all want to help and we all want to
Yeah.
make things better.
Yeah. I mean, we had a pretty epic group at that last company we worked with. We had Tinker on the team. There's a couple of people that are still doing some really great things, and leading communities. I know
Yeah.
Tinker is very active in Dallas, with that group of guys, along with Dustin Dykes, Wirefall, and a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I felt really fortunate and out of place when I joined the team originally, and of course through a merger and everything, all those guys split because the government work, right? A lot of people don't like the government work,
right.
and I enjoyed the short time that I was able to be a part of that team, because we had a team of like 25 people or something like that. It was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And the work that they were doing, Andrew Whitaker up there, Christopher Duffy, those guys leading those teams and everything, doing the talks at Black Hat and DEF CON. They were the ones that made the ATM rain money,
Mhm.
in terms of cycling through and just draining an ATM. So they were doing some really cutting edge things, and it was awesome to be part of.
Yeah, we had
They're the
the
ones that I think that learned that they could freeze the memory, and glitch it just enough to be able to capture the encryption key for the hard drives coming in. So really interesting team. It's like, I'm not worthy, but
yeah, we also had that the device, the Kraken, for password cracking, and I thought that was really cool. We had so much freedom to pretty much build and do our own thing the only thing that really got to me was the Fed Reserve pen test. And I wouldn't necessarily call them pen tests really. It's here's your laptop, here's the two
Yeah.
tools that you can use, and here's the enter key. Just hit that when you're ready to go.
And here's your handcuffs in terms of what you can do.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, but I mean, there are certain people out there that live for that kind of compliance driven pen testing and stuff like that, and more power to them. It's great that somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
But it just
when you get over into that world, there's so much there that they're afraid that you can't step over this boundary into to this other container or whatever. So I always used to refer to it as you can tell them that this window is unlocked, but you can't open it.
Yeah. That's definitely what it was.
And then they chase them there, right? And then that's another thing too, is that you get I don't know if you ever do it, but I certainly do all the time, and suffer from imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're doing these systems that go through pen tests annually, right? And you come up on the system and that it's been pen tested for the last 10 years. Like, what are you gonna find?
Yeah, with the same tools.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's like. So you hope to find some piddly things there and not be skunked, but every once in a while you get some fun stuff going.
Yeah, and I think that weekend that we met up to do that test, there was a conference going on at that hotel, and I remember they were leaving USBs sitting around the hotel, and one of the USBs that I found had company information on all kinds of stuff. It amazes me going on those trips and just seeing the security of the hotel or individuals in the hotel. It's shocking.
Or just on the planes, right? I mean,
yeah.
There was, I made a habit for a while there, and I would take pictures and sort of publicly shame people, anonymously, of course. But I'd put frowny faces on their computers, either in the airport lounges. There was one lady that I'm sitting here in my hacker hoodie and everything, and she pops open her laptop, and it's a government laptop. It's got a cat card on it.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets out her credit card and props it up, on the screen where she can read it as she's typing in. And next thing I know, she gets up, goes to the bathroom, like leaves here's her cat card, her credit card, her computer unlocked. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow. And so took a little picture, put a frowny face on it, posted it. It's like, some of the things that you just can't believe. It just goes back to the low hanging fruit comment of, one, I think Ralph instilled this in me a long time ago, is people are your weakest link. They are and will continue to be your weakest link and your hardest to secure. But it's funny though, on the flip side of that, they're also your most valuable protection too. You just depending on how you look at it, you train your staff well and everything, and they can honestly be, the thing that protects you the most.
Yeah, I think a lot of people though, pen tests are kind of peculiar, right? So a lot of companies do pen tests, and their whole goal is to basically shame the company that they're testing, and show them how bad they are. But what was funny is when I had Jason on, we were talking about pen testing and his approach. I like the fact that he looks at it as trying to help the people instead of like trying to catch them in a bad situation, making it a learning experience. And I think taking that positive approach, not a whole lot of companies do, and a whole lot of pen testers don't do.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I've taken with my company. And what I try to instill in everyone that works for me and that I work with is that pen tests aren't about gotcha moments, right? It's not something that you say gotcha and high five each other. Of course, we high five each other when we're successful, right? But that's in the background. And as Jason would say, do his ice cream dance or whatever. But they're not about that. They're about, let's find things, let's identify things that are weak so you can make them better. So we always try to take an approach of, we want to be a partner. We want to be a partner with our clients and the people that we're doing pen tests for, and help them. And you know, a lot of times we'll come to them with a vulnerability that we found, and you tell them that, and it's like you sort of look at you like with the deer in the headlights. It's like, what does that mean? Or and the other part of that is, we really work to make sure that clients understand what this vulnerability is, understand what can be done with it. And so there's that aspect of it. There's also the aspect of, we can bring something to a client in terms of vulnerability and they look like they're scared to death, but you also have to be reassuring too, because just because a tool, let's just say Nessus, right, calls something critical, doesn't mean that it's critical. And so you have to try to single those out, and guide the client and help them in terms of, yeah, you need to be concerned about this, and yeah, you have this, but it's not that big of a worry. You have to be reassuring. So the partnership there, and not there's so many people that do use the fear tactics. I don't really. That never has been me.
Doesn't
Don't
accomplish
agree with that.
much. Doesn't accomplish much, because I mean, when you go in and you strike fear, you kind of ruin that partnership, that relationship, that friendly relationship with the client. Another person who takes that same approach, as trying to be a trusted advisor, is Luke McComey, Pyro. I've been working with him for a while now, and same idea. We go into a client, talk to him about what we're going to do, make it really obvious, and then we work hand in hand with them. I think the older guys in the industry and some of the old guard take that approach now. I didn't always take that approach when I was younger. I think I was one of those ones who wanted to smash and grab and,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, look what I did. But, the older I get, the more I see that it's not about the vulnerabilities. It's not about being able to get domain admin. It's about relationships, relationships with the client, something you can build off of. Because without that type of relationship, the security effort is meaningless. You really have to have that one-on-one and that personal touch. But yeah, so tell me about your company. What made you decide to start it, and tell me what it's like now.
Well, so the company's name's Secure Yeti,
Nice.
but it's sort of a play on words there.
Mm.
If you're from Oklahoma or the South, you sort of have a little bit of a draw and run words together. So this is something that Ralph and I actually, laughed about. But if you say Secure Yeti fast enough, it sounds like security.
Security.
So it's sort of just a play on words. It goes to the aspect that I was telling you in terms of I try to take a more upbeat approach. Instead of being doom and gloom and everything dark. I try to be a little bit more upbeat. Security isn't a mythical thing, just like the Yeti is. We just try to have fun with it, and
Cool.
try to have fun with it all around. And so, had a cartoonist that I've known for a long time. He did our mascot for us and everything. So we like to have fun with it. And we have about 10 employees now that we've grown, just trying to stay on top of the work, take more work in, grow that customer base. We're only 2 years old now. Although I've had the desire, I was a business owner before we met, on a small business that sort of got consumed with the other family that I was working with in terms of their family business. So it became more of a we're going to maintain what we've got than grow type thing. And so when I made the jump from there into InfoSec full time, it was really eye-opening. And like I said, I always loved security and always wanted to do it. I toiled on the Secure Yeti name, thinking that it was too comical or too cutesy. But everyone that I spoke with sort of gave me some positive feedback. So they like it because it's upbeat and not not just the doom and gloom and everything about
I
it.
think it's
Try to
pretty
be
awesome with
lighthearted.
I think it's pretty awesome with the Southern draw. Being from Texas and neighbors with Oklahoma, secure. Yeah,
You got to embrace it, right? I mean,
it's hard not to say it quickly and say security. But we
yep.
used to say with security, like if you break down the word, it's secure IT Y, and
Yep.
that's
Hey,
the
that's good
approach
too.
that
Yep.
most companies take is why secure IT? Why not just let it go? Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool name for a company for sure. So what kind of stuff you doing on the side? Outside of work. What are your passions now?
So, I sat in here way too long in front of this keyboard, being a keyboard warrior or whatnot. One of the things that I fought with is just wait. It's like a roller coaster for me. But one of the things that I've tried to make myself do is, and I'll give Dave Kennedy some props here too, in his journey.
Oh, dude, yeah,
He's transformed.
big
Like
time.
he's not even the same dude.
Mm.
But I try to get out. I haven't been very good lately, and with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm probably not going to be very good. Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up, I'm not going to be very good for the foreseeable future. But I was really trying to hit the gym hard as a getaway. I'm not like a gym rat or anything like that, but at least that was something that try to keep healthy somewhat and lose some weight. Other than that, I'm sort of into photography.
Cool.
That's been my latest thing. Just taking some sports, doing sideline photography, sport or action photos,
Nice.
and just having fun with it, right? Because my daughter just graduated high school. She's playing college soccer. I've taken pictures of her through her career ever since she's been small. Learned, and I see that my work puts smiles on kids' faces when they see, oh, you caught me, in this moment I got this shot or this kick or this pass or this catch. And the parents, they love them. The people that can't be there, it's a way to, share those moments with grandparents or family members that maybe don't live in state that would still want to be involved. So I've always tried to do that, and I put my stuff out there. Just had a parent ask me today. Her son signed for University of Oklahoma, and I had some pictures of him. It's like, can I use these for his signing day?
Awesome.
I'm like, absolutely. That's exactly what I want. I want those memories to be made and those kids to have that. So that's how I get away from that's how I make myself get away from the screen from time to time, because as much as I don't like to admit it, I would sit in here all day, all night if I could.
Yeah,
Or if I didn't make myself get out.
balance is super important. I just over the past couple of years losing a bunch of friends in the industry because they didn't have that balance or that they were battling demons that nobody knew about. Balance is super important. So I try to get away from the computer all the time. And I just actually got a telescope in the mail delivered to me. So I'm gonna I want to do some astrophotography. Which I think would be really, really cool. It's the sole purpose I got it for was astrophotography. I saw some of the photographs that people take. One guy actually does it with a cell phone. Does astrophotography with a cell phone.
Have those adapters that mount on there and take that. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to messing with
it. One of the things we don't realize how much light pollution we have, but last year, when we didn't get to do summer camp, Grifter and Bart and some of those guys, Jason Street, we all got together afterwards, a little after the virtual event. Said we didn't get to see each other. We're all being COVID conscious, being responsible. So we all trusted each other, and we met down at, we did a little hacker weekend where we did nuclear. We went down to White Sands, so where the first nuclear bomb was dropped. So we did so we did nukes and UFOs. Went up to Roswell, made a weekend of it. But what's taken me in that direction is your mention of astrophotography. I've never been somewhere that dark.
Oh yeah.
And I've never seen the Milky Way like it was out there in the stars. And we happened to be there on a new moon, so it was pitch black, and everything just like, I'm like, wow. I mean, this is amazing out there. And we also saved a guy from a burning car that weekend too.
I think I heard about that actually. I think I heard about that.
Yeah, we were driving to get some breakfast one morning before we went out to we were going to go tour the missile range and everything out there. We were giving Grifter, I already gave Grifter a hard time because for some reason he decided to wear white that day. Grifter's a guy you always see in black, but about a mile in front of us, we saw a big poof and smoke starting coming up, and got down to the intersection and saw where there'd been an accident, and it was an old homemade, or a remodeled homemade truck or whatever, and it busted the fuel cell in the back, and it was just engulfed in fire. So I grabbed my knife out of the door. Street had his. We were able to go bust the window at the end of that, and then Bart reached in. So Bart's a big guy. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's like 6'5", used to play XFL football, I believe. We, a couple of us were Grifter and able to get the door open, and Bart reached in there. If it wasn't for him, the guy would be dead.
Wow.
Big, because the guy in the seat, because we were having come in from the passenger side because the driver's side was already fully engulfed in flames.
Wow.
But the guy inside was big too. So like, I wouldn't have, I'll just admit, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to get him out. And so thankfully Bart was there, pulled him out, saved the guy. And so, and in the course of that, Grifter got his white shirt dirty. So that teaches him to wear white.
Right. So big question. You went to Roswell. Any UFOs?
Didn't see any while we were there. I know saw lots of aliens, I guess. But I'd say I don't know. Have you ever been there? It's interesting little town, man.
I've been there ish. So passing through, but I definitely want to check it out. There's another place I really want to check out. Skinwalker Ranch. Okay.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, so
that's a little bit of a scary thing people go up to, right?
Yeah.
Was there a podcast
there was
maybe a couple years ago?
There was, and there was actually a couple documentaries that have been done on Skinwalker Ranch, and Bob Bigelow, billionaire, he does a lot of stuff with aerospace. At one point bought Skinwalker Ranch and set up cameras and everything, and him and the government, the U.S. government, we're doing a lot of research out there because it's a very hot spot for both paranormal and extraterrestrial stuff. And I just recently watched a documentary called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and they actually caught some stuff on video that was absolutely amazing. And of course, they had the cattle mutilations and stuff like that, but very interesting place. And the energy around that place, gamma radiation and stuff like that is measurable. So they're not really sure what's going on there, but the work that Bob Bigelow did on that ranch, the research he did with the government, is classified. So there's no data that's been released about it. So
classified.
So now they have another group, another millionaire who went out there and bought it, and now they're doing their own research, and it's basically 24/7. They're putting a satellite above Skinwalker Ranch on geostationary orbit, just on the ranch to collect telemetry and stuff. So should be interesting. That kind of stuff really interests me because we kind of have to be kind of egotistical to think that we're the
to
only
think
life
if we're the only
universe.
ones, right? Yeah, yeah.
And what a failure
And
that
to
would
look,
be.
yeah, to look out there and just think, you know, I did a science project at one point with my daughter in terms of how light dissipates with distance, and we sort of set out a scale model. We mocked up some little solar panels, and we put a light source there that was supposed to represent the sun, and took a string and started measuring, you know, the light bulb at night, and let's go back to, you know, each planet, you know, and by the time you're, you know, stringing the string, you know, 100 feet or whatever to scale, you know, clear across your yard to get to out to Pluto or Neptune or you know, it's like, and you look at that and you think of the scale, and like some of these videos you see on YouTube or whatever, where they use, you know, soccer balls for the sun, and you know, they go the football field, and then, you know, the next town over for, you know, it just is mind-boggling. So yeah, to think that we're the only ones in this space, I think would be short-minded of us all.
Oh, yeah.
But the speaking of the gamma rays and everything, you know, it was sort of ironic that, you know, a thought that went through my head is like, okay, you have the first nuclear bomb that goes off, that's dropped and is detonated there, and you know, Roswell's not that far from White Sands, and you know, maybe 2 years later is when the supposed UFO crashed. It's like, huh, I wonder if someone's out there and is like, oh, you know, what's this little blip on the radar? Let's go check this out over here, guys. Like, what was this? You know, and so it always is interesting to me, to some of those things, and you know, some of the declassified stuff too that they've just released too, talking about UFOs, like some of these objects that are that these pilots are seeing, and
on the West Coast,
like the one that especially the one that's, you know, hovering over the water and then goes under the water.
Under the water, yeah.
The speed that it's moving, I'm like,
yeah. And that's,
you know,
that's pretty
if
brutal.
it's not a UFO, we better really be worried. Like, okay, what's China doing?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a UFO and they have those capabilities, we might be speaking Chinese before too long. Yeah, I saw some of those videos. I heard an interview with the pilot that took the video, that it was his craft that was monitoring this spaceship or this UFO. And I mean, straight-laced guy, and his interview was he was just shocked. He said, you know, I've never seen anything like this before. Definitely not one of those guys that's trying to seek attention. He just, you know, normal guy, normal pilot.
Yeah, so that whole crew, I think I saw one of those interviews, and they're like, you know, we didn't even really bring this to our attention. It's like, it started you know, I think they were saying it was really bothering me, like, you know, what is this? And so, you know, yeah, I don't think they were, you know, glorification hounds or anything like that, seeking attention like that. So
yeah, it's a very interesting place out there too. White Sands, and then Sandia National Labs. I went out there for a DoD and a DOE research program, and that base out there in Sandia is really interesting. You know, of course, right down the road you have, you know, the rockets and the nuclear and everything like that.
Yeah.
And Sandia is pretty highly classified. Parts of the base are pretty highly classified. But it's really interesting to see what goes on there. They have a group called SERL. And I cannot remember what the acronym stands for, but they're the ones who did the research project. And it was basically hacking into a mock SCADA network, so that the government and DOE could look at biofeedback, basically how your body responds once you compromise a machine. They were doing it for a program to where they could, I guess, put up a cloak with the telemetry and looking at how people react, doing some deception techniques based on that feedback. But SERL is a pretty interesting place. But yeah, it's really interesting. I love space. I love anything that has to do with technology. I lived in Alabama for a little bit, right down the road from Huntsville. where some of the first rockets took off. And they have these huge rockets, like a museum or whatever. It's been pretty cool. But
the
yeah,
the new space race is very interesting too.
yes.
You know, it's always been my goal. One of my bucket list items, I guess, so to speak, is to see a launch down there. And you know, with the space shuttle program, you know,
Mhm.
showing our age a little bit here, right?
Oh yeah,
With the space shuttle program getting
scrubbed.
scrubbed. It's like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to ever be able to see that again, but it's nice to see some of these companies in that private race to do some of these things.
I think that's really
Get
cool,
back.
though. I think that's it's awesome that we're opening up space to private exploration. I think that's one thing that may have kept us from getting further in space exploration was not opening up to private and commercialized. But with people like Elon Musk at the helm, I don't think there's going to be any limit to to what we can actually achieve. I heard that they were going back to the moon. That's
Yeah,
going to be the next mission is actually going back to the moon. So
and I think that was going to be. I think I heard something that they're going to be piloted female pilot on that. So
yeah,
even better.
yeah, and I think it'd be really cool. They were talking about. I can't remember where I read this. I read it today or yesterday about putting a nuclear reactor on the moon. The possibilities of something like that, and the energy output, and being able to use that as, you know, I guess, furthering our reach into space. But I hope they don't do to the moon what they've done to the Earth. Hopefully, we can
Yeah,
keep from destroying it. But it's
yeah.
pretty interesting times. Really interesting times.
And one of the things that, you know, let's tie some of this conversation in here. So we was talking about space and photography and everything.
Mm.
You know, there's always a little bit of conspiracy theorist in me too. Like, you know,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
the hacker nature of us too. Have you
Mhm.
ever wondered? And I think I've read something about this, and I don't know if I 100% believe it or not. Have you ever wondered why you can't see stars from any pictures from the moon?
Moon. That's a good. That's a really good question. Another really good question too is when they were planting the flag on the moon and looking at the way the flag waved in the air. There is no wind
Yeah,
on there. I mean, solar winds maybe, and no, not the hack, but the actual solar winds possibly.
yeah.
But yeah, there. I mean, just the whole space race back then. I watched a documentary on the U.S. and Russia and how we were rushing to the moon, and it was this huge race, and we were willing to do whatever it took to be the first ones to the moon. And then, of course, you deal with the conspiracies of, you know, was it in a, you know, movie set in Hollywood? And, you know, you hear the guys talk about if you look really close, the rocks are labeled, and just crazy shit. But
I don't think the camera quality back then was quite good enough to see any labels on rocks. Who knows? But
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I definitely the not so much conspiracy theorist, but I definitely listen to the conspiracies because in every conspiracy, there's at least a little bit of truth.
truth, yeah,
And I
it
think,
broadens your mind, right? I mean,
yeah,
and that's one of the things. That's one of the things that frustrate me so much with politics
Mhm.
too, is that a lot of people are so close-minded, whether you be on the left or the right,
Mhm.
that you won't listen to the other.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, you may listen to some of these people that have some conspiracy theories and think that they're just crazy, but if you actually take the time and actually listen to what they're saying and
mhm.
at least try to understand, right?
Right.
Yeah, you like learn something, you know, from the other side at all times.
Yeah, I think Albert Einstein was once considered a conspiracy theorist as well. And you know, you look at some of his theories, and you know, now that we've got science that can prove it, he's a genius. But back then,
Yeah,
half the people thought he was mad. You know, so he's one of my idols. He's one of the ones that didn't care what other people thought and was willing to put himself out there and really push the envelope of science. I just wish there were more people like that. I mean, people give Elon
yeah,
Musk a hard time, but the things that he's doing for advancement of the human race and technology is just
yeah.
absolutely fucking amazing.
I mean, just like with the Tesla, right?
Mm.
The electric car, like he's patented and had all this research that he's invested in to get the efficiency and everything on the batteries to where it will make electric vehicles possible. But what does he do? He goes out and he opens the patent up to everyone because he's like,
Yeah.
this is going to make our environment, this is going to make our planet better. I will share what I've found and what I've discovered and the journey that we've been on so far for everyone's benefit. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, and
how can you blame that, right?
exactly. And how can you talk bad about a man who builds this Tesla and has all these technical capabilities within this car and says, you know what, if you hack my car, not only will I give you one of them, but I'll also give you $100,000. You know, much respect to that. You know, testing his own technology, and to see what kind of bugs are out there. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which I think a couple of our former workers or coworkers, I think I know have torn their Teslas apart out there.
Oh yeah,
trying to after that goal.
For sure.
You know, one of them got the bug bounty, I believe, on United. I think won a million frequent flyer miles or something like that. But you know, Patrick Kiley, I believe, out in Vegas, he loves to tinker on stuff like that.
So, oh yeah, I don't know if I would take my own Tesla and try to break it. That's a pretty penny for a car. So
yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you being on the show, and I think that you know, we should do this more often. You know, just a one-on-one type of friend-to-friend type conversation.
Yeah, give me a shot when you're here in the city for Innotech. I'll see if I can maybe get down to the conference. Not sure what my schedule holds. You know, I honestly sort of live day by day on things. Like I look at my calendar in the morning and say, what do I have on this schedule today? And unfortunately, that's how I survive. I like to try to plan better than that, but I've always found that when you plan, it goes all to hell. So, so it's like, why plan?
I look at my calendar. If I have a little bit of white space within that day, it's a good day. If it's not completely filled. So yeah, definitely. I think the conference is, I want to say it's December 1st or December 2nd. It's one of those 2 days. But I'll definitely give you a call, and we should definitely connect again on the podcast, and you know, maybe pull a couple other people on here and just have a power.
You know, I'll put this out to anyone that's listening too, if you would be interested in participating in Black Hat, because I like trying to involve as many people as I can from all different walks of life. So I'll put that out there if you'd be interested in participating as a conference associate, which also gives you one of the best perks that Black Hat gives you is a badge to DEF CON. So you work Black Hat, you get to go to DEF CON. And trust me, you'll earn it. You deserve it by that time. But yeah, if anyone's interested, hit Mike up, get them, you know, let's get your names on there. I typically start recruiting for my teams around March for USA in the summer.
Yeah, and definitely if you want to get involved, jump into Discord or shoot me an email.
Yeah,
haunted@thehauntedhacker.com.
I'm on the Discord server too there. So Adam915.
Yeah.
So yeah, hit me up. And Mike, I appreciate it. Love you, buddy.
Love you too,
love you like a brother. And yeah.
All right, brother.
Look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, and thanks for being on the podcast, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
Cheers.